Hello, today is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. I'm Tony Mangino from TC2, and this is Staying Connected. On today's podcast, we're diving into the world of ERP SaaS solutions. ERP systems have been around for many years, but there's now significant focus on modernizing ERP systems by shifting them to the cloud. So to help us navigate these waters, we're talking today with Mark Lindsay from LB3. Mark is a longtime colleague of mine and a technology attorney with over 20 years of technology transaction experience. He's also an ERP aficionado of sorts. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tony. It's great to be here. I'm excited to demystify ERP SaaS for your listeners.
Thanks, Mark. Let's start with the basics. ERP SaaS. What exactly is ERP SaaS, and why is it becoming so crucial for organizations?
Great question, Tony. ERP SaaS refers to cloud-based software solutions that help organizations manage their core business processes like finance, HR, and supply chain in a standardized way. Unlike traditional on-prem and perpetually licensed software, ERP SaaS is sold on a subscription basis and is delivered remotely from vendors' single-instance multi-tenant platforms. Because the SaaS vendor handles the entire technology stack, organizations don't have to worry about infrastructure acquisition, installation, configuration, operation, or management.
Got it. So it's essentially renting the enterprise's most important enterprise-wide business software and all of the underlying technology required to run it?
Exactly. And that paradigm brings focus to the greatest risks and opportunities companies face when adopting ERP SaaS.
Right. So in your prior talks on this subject, you mentioned that vendor lock-in is a big risk with ERP SaaS. What is that and how can companies avoid it?
Vendor lock-in occurs when a customer becomes so dependent on one provider solution that switching feels impossible, either because it's too expensive, too disruptive, too difficult, or some combination of all three of these. To mitigate the lock-in risk, buyers should build flexibility into their ERP subscription agreements. For example, they should include clauses that provide clear termination rights, establish their rights to any unique interfaces that are created to their legacy systems. So it helps to define the data extraction tools and services that will be available on an exit from the ERP subscription SaaS supplier. And of course, commit the ERP vendor to provide post-termination transition assistance. That's still a unique maturing factor in ERP SaaS space, but insisting on transition assistance service is a clear best practice. There's also frequently a temptation by our clients to enter into long-term deals to pry deeper discounts from their vendor, to minimize the frequency of resourcing that ERP solution, and to lock in long-term favorable pricing. But experience has taught us that shorter-term deals in the 3 to 5 year range yield better outcomes for our clients when considering pricing, service quality, innovation, and customer satisfaction.
Thanks, Mark. Let's pivot from lock-in to deployment. Many companies outsource their ERP implementations. What to watch out for?
Most companies do hire an outside systems integrators for the implementation, or SIs, to handle the configuration, design, and deployment. But here's the catch. There's no standard playbook. These are customized deals. Every deployment is unique. And ERP systems touch almost every department, business process, legacy system within the organization. Deployments often fail due to unclear scopes of work, lack of well thought out organizational change management, and poor integration strategies. To avoid these problems, businesses should competitively procure experienced systems integrators and define detailed SOWs with mature deployment methodologies. The methodology should involve frequent checkpoints to offer critical feedback between implementer and client. Regular joint validation testing during design and prototyping phases is a particularly important aspect of an implementation because this approach helps the client and implementer identify requirement gaps and define defects early in the process.
Speaking of expenses, ERP projects can get pricey. Any tips for controlling costs, Mark?
Absolutely. Focus on total cost of ownership, TCO. So I'm sure your listeners have heard that before. This means looking beyond just the subscription fees to include the implementation-related design, configuration, integration, post-cutover training, and even renewal cost. Competitive bidding helps too in this aspect. Don't just go with the vendor's in-house implementation service by default. Shop around to find external SIs to provide competitive alternatives.
Mark, are there any other important cost levers to consider when negotiating the implementation agreement or SOW?
Yeah, Tony, good question. There are certainly some aspects of implementation SOWs that are important to maintain on your pricing viewpoint here, and that is fixed fee. All these deals are done on a fixed fee basis. In this arrangement, payments for the work are tied to the vendor's successful completion of major deployment milestones. We also like to use holdback payments, where a material portion of the total fees are held back until the system goes live. And after go live, there's typically a 90, 120-day period called stabilization. We'd like to hold back a meaningful payment until the system is fully stabilized at the end of that period. We find that this incentivizes your integrator to deliver quality work on time, but also to stick around until the system is fully stabilized.
All right, Mark, before we wrap up, we got to talk about the hot topic of AI. How does AI fit into ERP SaaS?
Yeah, AI is becoming a game changer in a lot of industries, but it comes with some risks. For example, when you're doing these deals, it's important to just understand what your vendors are doing with AI in your solution. So get them to disclose it. A basic blocking and tackling principle is disclosure and transparency. One of the areas you have to think through is, how are they using the data you provide to their AI systems? Are they using your data into their training models, potentially exposing your information to your competitors? It's also important to understand who owns the AI prompts, the information your employees put in, the outputs that come out of it, who owns that, defining who owns those outputs and inputs. Important part of responsible use of AI. Moreover, at this point in time, I think it's super important that enterprise customers start considering whether to adopt their own AI policies and then begin requiring their vendors to follow those AI policies in a vendor-facing way. And remember, AI is a useful tool, but it's only as good as the data and policies that support it, make it available in a responsible way.
So I'm probably dating myself here, but no Skynet level ERP takeovers yet?
not yet, but it's coming. No, but stay vigilant.
Mark, this has been great. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
Just this. Enterprises approach ERP SaaS with a strategic mindset. Leverage competitive bidding, contract for flexibility, and invest in organizational change management. Those are some essential keys to success in this modernization of ERP solutions. ERP SaaS can transform businesses, but success depends on preparation and effective partnerships.
Thanks, Mark. And to our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about how to transact for a successful ERP transformation, or if you'd like to discuss other ICT needs with Mark or me or any of our LB3 and TC2 colleagues, please give us a call or shoot us an email. You can also stay current by subscribing to Staying Connected, by checking out our websites, and by following us on LinkedIn.